Einmal bei Asadin Teure ist ein Zipper geworden so aufgekocht, als hat sich zerschrien. Once at such a Din Torah, a rabbinic court, one of the sieve makers was so riled up that he began to shout, Ihr Herr Rebbe, wenn ich bin gewesen Cheder-Jüngel, habe ich schon mit Weib und Kinder gearbeitet auf Reb Yoschen, wenn sich als zu kein Stickel Bräut nicht geschlagen. Listen, Rebbe, when I was a little boy, I was already working with wife and children for Rabbi Yehosha, and still I was not able to arrive at enough money to buy a bit of bread. Rabbi Yosha hat gelacht, but Rabbi Yosha was just laughing. Scheite, als du bist gewesen Cheder, Jüngel, hast du doch kein Weib und Kinder nicht gehabt. Oh, blockhead, if you were a Cheder boy, then you certainly didn't have any wife and child. Hat gesagt gelassen, he said calmly. Glätten dich dabei frum sein Bord und Payas. Meanwhile, stroking in a pious manner his beard and his payas. Der Zipper hat sich voneinander gewähnt, über sein eigener armer stummer Song. The sieve maker was in tears because of his poor, silent tongue, or his inability to speak. Der Seide hat ihm eingenommen wie ein Kind, but grandfather took him as if he were a child. Gott ist der barmdicker Vater, hat der Seide ihm geträßt und geglätzt sein Arbel. God is a merciful father, grandfather told him. He comforted him, and he patted his sleeve. Kadei nicht mevayish zu sein dem armen Zad, hat der Seide keinmal bei solche Din Teures kein Psach Geld nicht genommen. A viele euch nicht von der jüdischen Zad. In order not to embarrass one of the parties, the poor side of the argument, grandfather never at such decisions asked for any payment, even not by the side that was rich. Nach einer Asadin Teure habe ich probiert, besseren sich auf Gott, was los zu arme Leid as I leiden. After such a court case, I tried to be angry at God, who allows the poor folk to suffer so. Was macht nicht Gott, als alle sollen sein gut, Seide? Why doesn't God make it that everyone should be honorable? Grandpa, habe ich gefragt, I asked. Der Seide hat mir probiert erklären mit allerlei Teruzim, aber ich habe sich nicht gelöst verreden und sich gehalten, verachtend bei mein Kasche. Grandfather tried to explain it with all sorts of answers, but I did not allow myself to be convinced, and I held myself stubbornly at my question. Der Seide hat mich betracht mit seinen durchdringlichen Augen. Grandfather looked at me with his penetrating eyes. Bist zu jung zu verstehen solche Sachen, hat mir gesagt. You're too young to understand such things, he told me. Geh, lehen Krishma, fahren schlafen, und glaub in Gott, als alles, was tut, darf also sein. Go recite the Shema before sleep, and believe in God, that everything that God does should be that way. Dabei hat allein verheuben die Augen zum Balken, hoch gesifzt, und plötzlich so getan mit Brenn. At that point, he himself lifted his eyes to the balcony. He sighed mightily. And suddenly he said the following with enthusiasm. Ich glaub, Rabbeinu Shel Olam. Ich glaub. I believe, Master of the Universe, I believe. Von sein Gichen, Reuschappen, Gemorra, und setzen sich lernen, habe ich verstanden, als will sich raten von schweren Machshavas und Kashes, was haben ihm gepeinigt. By his grabbing a Talmud volume and seating himself to study, I understood that he wanted to save himself of difficult thoughts and hard questions that were paining him. Ich hab mehr nicht gefragt und bloß geguckt von mein Schlafbettel auf dem Seiden bei der Gemorre. I asked no more questions. I just looked from my bed at grandfather at his Gemorre. Etwas a größer Keuch hat gewehet von dem heuchen, beinerdicken, strengen Jeden, was ist wie geboren geworden, zu sein a Pastach über an Ede. Something of an enormous strength. Now, how are you going to translate gewehet?
Emanated.
Emanated, good. Yeah, that's good. Emanated from this tall, bony, stringent fellow, a Jew, who was as if born to be a shepherd for a flock, for a community. Hat geführt die Stadt mit Yosher und Tzedakos. Kein Sach nicht verglätt, kein Sach nicht versehen. Vor keinem Kemeure nicht gehad, kein Sach nicht geschmeichelt. He carried his obligations, his duties, with honesty and righteousness. He didn't cover over anything. He didn't ignore anything. He had no fear for anyone and never smiled at anyone for any purpose. All right, someone else.
Okay, shall I carry on?
Please.
Ich gedenk, wie einmal, wenn mir seinen Gewinn beim Seiden, ist in Bilgerei grad gestorben der Rosh HaKol von Stott, ein reicher Jid und ein Choshev bei Nachalshva. So I remember once when I was visiting the Zayda in Bilgerei that a leader of the town died at that particular time. A wealthy Jew who was very well connected with the authorities. Ob ich mach nicht kein Toes, ob ich mach kein Toes nicht, is sein Name gewesen David Lubliner. If I'm not mistaken, his name was David Lubliner. Dem Verstorbenen, dem verstorbenen Sinn, seine gekommen Betten beim Seiden, soll machen a Hesped über seiner Vater. So the deceased sons came to ask the Zayda whether to make a eulogy for their father. Aber der Zayda hat sich abgesagt, weil Hagam, der Verstorbene, ist gewesen ein frommer Jid, hat sich nicht gehabt, ausgezeichnet mit kein Lomdes oder Yiras Shamayim, als man soll ihm austeilen von anderen stottische Jiden. But grandfather refused because the deceased, although the deceased was a pious, a frum Jew, he had never distinguished himself with any kind of learning or yiras shamayim, fear of heaven, so that which would have singled him out from other town Jews. Die Sinn haben sich gefühlt sehr getroffen davon und sie haben vorgelegt dem Seiden zuerst 100 und der noch 200 Rubel, was ist zu jener Zeit gewesen a Vermögen, besonders für mein Seiden, was hat gehabt auf sich als eine große Mischpoche zu besorgen. So the sons felt rather put out. They were offended by this. And they initially suggested to the Zayda that they pay him 100 and later 200 rubles, which at that time was a fortune, especially for my Zayda, who had on his shoulders such a large family, had to support such a large family. Der Zayda hat nicht gewollt hören davon. Hagam von aller Seiten hat man ihm gewarnt, als reißt sich ein mit die mächtigste von Stott, was können ihm euch Keile machen bei Chalstwe. So the Zayda didn't want to hear about this, even though from all sides people were warning him that he was reisig.
I would say angering.
Okay, he was annoying. The most powerful people of the town who could affect him very badly as far as the authorities were concerned. Tomer is das noch wenig gewesen, hat in demselben Tag gehalten a Hesped über a verstorbene Id an Ormen, was is aber gewinn a größer Landen und a Yiras Shamayim. And to make matters worse, on the same day, he delivered a eulogy for a deceased Jew, a poor deceased Jew, who was very learned and a Yiras Shamayim, greatly feared heaven, he feared God. Das hat noch mehr zerreizt die gewirische Sinn. And this angered even more these very wealthy sons of the wealthy man. Aber sie haben nicht gewagt zu sagen a krumm Wort dem Seiden in die Augen. But they didn't dare to say anything, any bad thing, bad word about the Zayda to him. Also haben euch nicht gewagt, an gegenzureden ihm die Chassidim von Stott, was haben gehabt auf ihm a Beisherz für sein nicht Glauben in gute Jiden. And at the same, also, the Hasidim of the town didn't dare to contradict him, even though they felt angry at him because he didn't believe in the Hasidic rabbis. Ich gedenk, wie in Stott ist gehad ausgebrochen a große Milchome zwischen Radziner Hasidim und die übrige Hasidim von Stott. Gerer, Trisker, Belzer, Gorlitzer, Rydniker, Sanser und alle andere. I remember how a great disagreement between the Radziner Hasidim and the rest of the Hasidim in the town, the Gerer, the Trisker, Belzer, Gorlitzer, Rydniker, Zanzer, and all the others. Die Machleuke ist ausgebrochen zu lieb a gestorbener Radziner Chosid, was Chevre Kadisha hat ihm nicht gewollt mekaber sein, in a Talis mit bläue Tzitzis. The disagreement broke out because of a deceased Radziner Chosid, whom the Chevra Kadisha did not want to bury in his talus with the blue string of the tzitzit.
Let me just interject that, not everyone, even today, accepts that the tchelis that you can find now is the right tchelis, and therefore some will use it and some won't.
Mm.
Oh, let me also, while I'm speaking, point out that a Guter Yid is not just a Hasidic Rebbe, but he's a miracle working person.
Okay. Der Radziner Rebbe, Reb Gershon Henoch, hat gehad stark gesorgt, für was Jiden in Goles nutzen nicht kein Tcheles, bloße Fahr in seine Tzitzes. Wie die Teure heißt, nutzen als Fahr und wie Jiden in Eretz Yisrael haben es einmal genutzt. So the Radziner Rebbe, Reb Gershon Henoch, was greatly concerned that Jews in the diaspora did not use the tchelet, the blue string in the tzitzis, a blue color in their tzitzit, as the Torah commanded them to use such a color, and that the Jews of Eretz Israel once upon a time used. Hat darüber gemacht große Ausforschungen wegen Tcheles. So for that reason, he did a great amount of research about the Tcheles. Und ist gekommen zum Beschluss, als in mittelländischen Jam ist da das Wasser beschäftigt Chilazon, was hat in sich bleu Blut, mit welchen die Teure hat geheißen Farben idischer Tzitzis. So for that reason, he did a great deal of research, and he found out that the blue, the tcheles, he came to the decision that in the Mediterranean, the lands of the Mediterranean Sea, there was a water creature which was known as the chilazon, the snail, a water snail, which had blue blood, with which the Torah said the tzitzis, Jewish tzitzis, should be colored. Hat die Yam Bashefenischen gebracht daheim, sei gekeulet und mit sehr Blut abgefarbt bei jedem Chosid seinem ein Tzitzis, dem Shammes, in die Talesim und in die Tzitze-Kanfossen. So he brought these sea creatures home, killed them, and with their blood he dyed for each of his Hasidim one strand of the tzitzis, the shamas, in their taluses and in their arba kanfas, their undergarments. Hat euch herausgelost a kol koire zu alle Rabbonim und gute Iden, als sie sollen annehmen sein Entdeckung und befehlen alle Jiden zu nutzen dem Tcheles. He also sent out a proclamation to all rabbis and Hasidic rabbis, miracle workers, that they should accept his discovery and order all Jews to use the tcheles, was hat ausgefunden, which he had found out, which he had established how to do it. In der rabbinische Welt hat sich aufgehoben a Tumult, and in the rabbinic world a great dissension was aroused. Rabbonim und gute Jiden haben geteilt, als nur wenn Mashiach wird kommen, wird man wissen, was Tchelet ist. Und als ein heutiger Mensch hat nicht das Recht zu bestimmen als Sache. In the rabbis and the Hasidic rabbis, the miracle workers, claimed that it was only when Mashiach would come that they would know what Tcheles really was, and that contemporary people did not have the right to decide on this matter. Der Radziner, a scharfer Polemist, hat beschuldigt die Gegner seiner, als sie verginnen ihm nicht dem Covid, und der Pfarr losen sie jeden Davenen in Tzitzis und Tcheles. So the Radziner, who was a very sharp polemicist, he beschuldigt, he accused his opponents of not wanting to grant him the honor dem Covenant, and for that reason, they wouldn't allow Jews to daven with the blue string in their tzitzis. Was das is al pi teure, gut wie man wollt in ganzen kein tzitzis nicht getrogen. And as according to the Torah, not having this blue string was as if they were not wearing tzitzis at all. Chassidim von anderen Rebbeim haben geteilt, als das ist a Chutzpah von Radziner Rebben, zu beschuldigen Jeden und Tzadikim in Azar sind. So Chassidim and other rabbis and other rebbes claimed that it was a chutzpah, a cheek of the Radziner Rebbe to accuse Jews and righteous people of such a sin. Sie haben geteilt, als der Radziner Rebbe ist äußern Geschäft in dem ganzen Eisig, weil hat übergenommen dem Monopol von die Bläue Tzitzis und hat gerechnet a teuren Preis für sein Treiles. So they also claimed that the Radziner Rebbe was losing business in this whole matter because he had taken over as a monopoly the blue tzitzis string, and he charged a very high price for his trailers, for his blue string. Okay.
I put into the chat some pointers to articles about this. This is all very true.
Mm-hmm.
I'll make a copy of it and send it to everyone if you want.
Thank you.
Wenn ich bin ein klein Kind, ich habe gegangen mit meinem Vater zu ein Schild, was ist klein mit der Sach, alte Jeden von dem alter Land. Und jener Tag ist ein ganzer Balagan mit alle Jeden von a man alleen O anstatt U von der Teure und a ganzer Megillah anhängen mit alle Jeden. Jener Tag.
Is Rachel, you next?
Ihr seid verstimmt, Rachel.
Verstimmt, Rachel.
Now, I wanted to ask a couple of questions about what we read. May I, please?
New frag.
Okay. One thing, there was the word Krishma, yeah, and it was written with an ayin. Is that a mistake in Yiddish or not? because kriya it's a Hebrew word, and with a Lashon Kodesh word word, it has to be in Lashon Kodesh, and it's with an aleph. It was
Yes, that would be a misprint. It should be an aleph.
it should be an aleph, right? Thank you for
Yeah, it's a different meaning with an ayin, and that's not intended.
thank you. Well, if you say that I know it is so. Yeah. Yeah, this was one thing. Another question is, educate me about the geography of Europe. Bilgorai is Lita?
No, it's southern. It's not so far from Sons, which is why their sons are Hasidim there. It's southern Poland. It's in the Lublin district, I think, but it's south.
Okay. Why this is what I knew, but why did I think it might be, and maybe I don't know where it is, because that description of the Zayde is so much that of a Litvak, that personality, that strength, and the actiones, and the honesty, and the straightforwardness, that I thought he must be a Litvak.
The narrator, correct me if I'm wrong, but the narrator of this story, the young boy that's narrating the story, is from Vilna, yo?
No.
From Bilgerai. From
No.
Bilgerai.
Bilgerai is where the Zaide lives.
Well, he moved around during his youth, but he ended up in Warsaw. And when he was writing this, he was most likely writing in more or less, he grew up mostly in Warsaw.
It was just the personality of the grandfather that hit me. I said that must be a Litvak. This is what I know Litvaks are like. See, actually, a lot like my father, yeah, like stubborn and honest, and yeah.
I have to say, I have to remind you guys as we read of the great quote by Virginia Woolf, goes to reading or to life, but we do not see the world as it is. We see the world as we are. We project onto these characters. You know, the fact that you're bringing up your father and stuff, you know, that you know, you tend to look for things that are reminiscent of the familiar, you know, as we read. And so, you know, I mean, people do share many traits, particularly through, you know, a lot of Eastern Europe. But yeah, I mean, you may be, projecting your dad into this, which is great. That's really, you know, a wonderful thing. So
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But the Bilgerai Rov, the Zayda, was a Mishnagid. So you must take that into account. He was a Mishnagid, which meant that he didn't, although he davened in the Hasidic shul, he wasn't part of the Hasidic world, and he didn't follow a Hasidic rabbi.
Thank you, Yaakov. Now you explain to me where I am taking it from, because he was a Misnagid. Yeah. And he was a Misnagid, and he didn't recognize Gute Eden. So I thought, you know, in my mind, a Misnagid is a Litvak, which is wrong. Okay. I'm not, and I am Balabos of my cop. Yeah. In my retirement still. Yeah. Okay. Die Milchome hat jahrelang geflackert zwischen Jiden in Poland. So the war has been going on for a lot of years among Jews in Poland. Gegeneer haben sich gepatscht, geschlagen, gemostert. The adversaries were hitting each other, were fighting, were snitching about each other. Jeden haben zulieb die bläue Zitzes euch abgelost Schiduchim, gezwungen po Volken sich zu getten. So Jews, because of the blue tzitze, they gave up marriage arrangements, and they also forced couples to divorce because of that. Einmal in Azumer, wenn ich bin gewesen beim Seiden, ist gestorben ein Radziner Jid. One time in the summer, when I was with my grandfather, there died a Radziner Chassid. Die sind wie seine Chaverim, die Radziner Chassidim, haben gewollt dem Jid mekaver sein in sein Talis, wo es hat gehad bloye Tzitzes. So his sons, just like his friends, the Hasidim from the same sect, wanted to bury this Jew in his own talis that had a blue tzitze. Die Chevra Kadisha Leid, wo seinen gewähnt Hasidim von anderen Rabbeim, aber nicht gewollt von dem Gestorbenen sein Recht, in a talis mit a bloye tzitzes. But the Chevra Kadisha Leid, the people from the company that the burial company, that who were Hasidim from other sects, they didn't want to do for the deceased his to fulfill his right to be buried in a talis with the blue color. In Stortot sich getan Cheuschech. In the town, there was like there was a war, like there was darkness, but there was a war among the Hasidim. Their mess is derweil gelegen. Meanwhile, the deceased was lying there. Der Seide hat geschickt rufen zu sich die Chevra Kadisha Leid, die größte Balei Machloke zwischen sie und befohlen sie sollen mekaver sein, der Mess in sein Talis mit die Bloyetzis. So anyway, can you take it back so I can see to translate, because I'm looking at the screen. Okay, so there was a war in the town. Now, the deceased is waiting there, and the grandfather sent to call and bring to him the people from the burial society. Those that are the biggest fighters among them, and he ordered them that they should bury the deceased in his own talis with the tchelet. Can you okay? Das ist gewesen für die Hasidim überhaupt, für die Gerer a gewaltiger Klapp. This was for the Hasidim, particularly for the Gerer Hasidim. It was actually an insult. It was like it was a terrible insult. They haben probiert and they tried to complain. Rav, Sizazin, Achilul Hashem. Rav, this is a sin. this is desecration of God, or desecration of God's name. Die größte Sinn und Chilal Hashem ist Machloikes zwischen Jeden oder Seide gesagt. Ich nehme die Avere auf sich. The greatest sin and the greatest desecration of God's name is having a disagreement among Jews. Grandfather said, I am taking on myself this kind of sin. Die scharfe Chassidim haben sich untergegeben dem Rauf dem Misnaged, wenn sie haben sich nicht gewagt gegenzustellen. So, the sharp Chassidim gave in to the Misnag, to the Rav who was a Misnaged, whom they did not dare to oppose. Und nicht nur die Chassidim, nur a viele sindige Leid aufgeklärte, aber nicht gehad die Hase, ihm sich gegenzustellen. Nobody dares disobey him, not only Hasidim, but even sinning people. I don't know why the word aufgeklärte is here. Those that think...
That's the Haskalah, people of the Haskalah.
Thank you.
Enlightened. Yeah.
Thank you. I didn't know that. Oh, thank you. They didn't have actually the audacity to oppose him. Instead is given a Mosa that is this is from the word from snitching about each other in town. There was like talking about each other. Der Seide fleckt brennen seine Trieb. Hat nicht gewagt zu sagen ein Wort, nur ausgehört dem Seidens Musser und Drohungen. So, the grandfather, his steps were burning. I would say he did not. I think the next sentence explains this. He stayed in his place. He didn't say anything. It just that his steps were burning. He wanted to move, to take a step, to do something, but he didn't.
I think it means that he warned him. The Zayda warned this informer.
Okay.
That
Right, a Moser is an informer, a person.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's, yeah, I know. But hat nicht gewagt zu sagen, he didn't dare saying a word, no ausgehört dem Seidens Morse und Drohungen, and listen to the grandfather's snitch.
No, the grandfather's reprimand. So
Yes.
he's talking here about the informer, that the informer, he didn't dare to, he listened to what the Zayda said, and he didn't dare to go against what was being said.
Okay, so it ausgehört dem Seidens, it's here it is not Musar, that's not Moiser, but Musar.
Musar, yeah.
Musar,
Mhm.
That's his lesson, the lesson that the lecture that the Zayde gave him.
Correct. Yeah.
That's what it is. Yeah. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, somebody else.
Okay, let me, I was just putting something into the dictionary here, but fine, I'll do that later. Eenmaal, is anyone else here? I guess it is my turn if not. Okay. Eenmaal is men gekommen sagen dem Seiden, als auf der Chassene beim Raufes Tochter mit dem Klezmer Sohn tanzt men Shatner's Tanz. Once they came to tell grandfather that at a marriage of the daughter of the healer and the klezmer's son, they were dancing a Shatnez dance, a mixed dance. Das heißt, Bochum mit Mädlich tanzen zusammen. Boys and girls were dancing together. At der Sort Menschen seine gewinn einmal verrechnet bei jeden für die ärgste Leid. This sort of person used to be considered, the Jews used to consider them as the worst sort of people. Warum, was kann noch sein ärger wie Raufe und a Klezmer? Because after all, what's worse than the town healer or a musician? Aber der Zayde hat nicht gewollt kein Hefkeres in sein Stadt. But Zayde didn't want to have any looseness, frivolity. No, it's not frivolity. It's
Wantonness, perhaps.
wantonness. That's it.
Mm.
In his city, in his town. Hat der Reber gleich angetan dem atlesenem Chalat und dem sametenem Kapelush. He immediately put on his canvas coat and his velvet hat und begleit von Shmuel Shamas gelost sich gehen zum Räufe. Accompanied by Shmuel, the Shamas, he started off to visit the Rofa, the healer, in Heus, at his house. Und allein überzeugen sich, and to convince himself, as a sind wer Tage getan in Israel, if such a sin was actually occurring among the Jews. Wenn die Klezmer Jungen und Zehre Mädlich haben sich verwusst, dass der Rav geht, when the Klezmer kids, the Klezmer youth and their girls got wind of the fact that the rabbi was coming, haben sie verloschen die Lampen. They extinguished the lights. Und durch die Fenster herausgesprungen von Haus, and they jumped out of the house through the windows. Azoi hat man gezittert für ein Bilgereier Rav in Stadt. That's the way people trembled for the anger of the Bilgerei Rav in that town. Zwischen die vielen anderen Episoden in mein Seidenshaus will ich noch zum Letzt der Mann ot die zwei. Among all the other episodes that happened at my Zayda's house, I want to finally remember two of them, these following two. Einmal, gedenk ich, ist zugefahren zum Seidenshaus a große Fuhr, angepackt mit Streu. Once I remember there traveled up to grandfather's house a big wagon packed with straw. Von up der Fuhr hat rausgeguckt a rabbinischer Kapelusch und a breiter Schal, herumgehielt über an eingekorcheter Figur. From this wagon was appearing, looking out, a rabbinic hat and a broad shawl wrapped around a figure that was eingekorchet, huddled over, or tossing and turning possibly. Der Balagola Ayid Anaradar hat mamisch auf die Hand herabgetragen von Streu heraus a Rovel. Maybe it's a Rav, rebel. Okay, it's the diminutive of Rav.
Yeah, it's like he's making fun of him.
Yeah, the wagon driver, who was an arendar, he had the commission to to be the wagon driver, apparently, from the local authorities. He actually carried in his arms, out of the straw, this little rabbi. Was is given ungetan in etliche Jupitzes, who was dressed in several short frocks. Hagam, es is given a warmer Sommertag, even though it was a warm summer day. Von der Kich is a reisgelaufen die Muma Rochla. Out of the kitchen ran Auntie Rochel und sich gekneipt in die Backen vor Überraschung. And she pinched her cheeks out of amazement. Tate, Tate, hat sie gerufen. Daddy, Daddy, she called out. Itchele, wer ist gekommen? Der Tate. Hey, Itchy, look, look who just came. Daddy came. Das ist gewesen dem Seidens Mechuten. Rabbi Yeshayale Rachave. This was the in-law of grandfather, Reb Mr. Yeshayale Rachaver from Rachav. Der Rav from Visoke. He was the rabbi of Visoke. Was hat angeschrieben a Welt mit Svarim. He had written enormous numbers of books, in welche alles ist verboten, in which everything is forbidden. Also, wie hat sich ausgehielt von alle Kapottes und Schalen und sich gewaschen, sag mal die Hand. As soon as he had taken off all of these coats and shawls, and he had washed his hands a lot of times, also hat gleich genommen der Zählen wegen die neue Isurab. He immediately began to describe the new prohibitions, was hat gemacht, that he had invented, or that he had made. This is the Chumrah of the Week Club. Ihr wisst noch, Guten, ich habe euch gefunden, als in Kartoffel ist da a Chashash Chometz. You know, in law, he's addressing the Zeta. I found out that in potatoes, there's a suspicion of Chometz. Und der Pfarrer darf in jeden besser nicht essen kein Kartoffel und Pesach. And that's why it's better for Jews not to have any potatoes on Pesach. This did happen. There were some communities in Poland that did not eat potatoes on Pesach. Dabei hat genommen sagen teure zu weisen von wannen, hat genommen dem neuen Verbot. And at that point, he began to speak a learned discourse to show where he had acquired this new prohibition. Was wel niet essen in Pesach, Rabbi Yeshayale, hat Zede gefragt, mit a leichten Schmeichel auf sein Bord. So what are the Jews supposed to eat on Pesach, Yeshaya? Zede asked, with a small smile in his beard. Rabbi Yeshayale hat der Ruf nicht geantwortet. Und erzählt wegen neue Verdachten auf allerlei Essen. Rabbi Yeshaya didn't answer this, but he began to tell about new worries about all sorts of food. Was es ist gleicher, als jeden sollen sie nicht nehmen in Meilerein, which it's better that Jews don't even taste. Der Seder hat schweigendig ausgehört dem Mechutens Reyes. So Seder listened without speaking to all of his Mechuten's proofs. Evidence, proofs. Von welche hat wenig gehalten. Proofs which he actually didn't believe in much. Und geschmeichelt sein lichtigen Schmeichel, and he smiled his bright smile. Hey, Rabbi Yeshayale, halt in ein Eis gefunden, was jeden Tore nicht. Well, Rabbi Yeshaya, you keep on finding out things that Jews shouldn't do, hat gesagt, he said. Das ist kein Kunst nicht. That's actually no trick. Man darf besser Eis gefunden. It's better if you should find out, was jeden megen ja. It's better to find out what they can do. Poor folks have to eat, Rabbi Yeshayale. Rabbi Yeshayale hat wieder gehalten in ein Suchen Reyes hat Seide ihm geheißen besser nehmen von Kibbutz. When Rabbi Yeshaya again began to look for proofs, Zeta asked him better to take a snack. Was die Baba hat gegengestellt auf den Tisch, weggestellt auf den Tisch, which a grandma had set up on the table. Esst mechuten, so eat mechuten, hat ihm gemuntert. He encouraged him. Esst allein, and lasst andere Jiden essen. You should eat, and let other people eat. Der Tamevater frume Rebel hat nicht verstanden dem leichten Unzerherrnisch. This simplistic, pious little rabbi didn't understand the light reminder und vergangen sich in his slavis in seine Teures. And he entered into an enthusiasm with his explanations, his Torah. Von welcher hat ausgedrungen, als alles in der Welt ist verboten für jeden, from which he was able to derive that everything in the world is forbidden to Jews. Der Veterice, Rabbi Yeshaya Adam, so Uncle Itche, and that's in fact Rabbi Yeshaya's
son-in-law.
Son-in-law, thanks, hat often Chäusig gemacht von sein Schwer, dem Batlen. He openly made fun of his father-in-law, this Batlen, this good for nothing. Hat erzählt in Kirch, as einmal he recounted once in the kitchen that once Reb Yeshaya is gefahren in Lublin zusammen mit seiner Tochter. Once Reb Yeshaya was traveling to Lublin together with his daughter, der Muma Rochla, who of course is Aunt Rochla. Also, hat Meure gehabt, als Jeden sollen ihm nicht heucheln sein, als fort Chalila auf Fuhr mit der fremden Rische. In order, because he was afraid that Jews might be suspicious of him, that he's traveling, God forbid, in a wagon with an unrelated woman. Hat über alle Lubliner Gassen ausgerufen. In all of the streets of Lublin, he shouted out, Jeden, seid wissen, als ich vor mit mein eigener Tochter. Jews, you should understand that I'm traveling with my own daughter. Mich hat die Begegnisch zwischen Seiden und Rabbi Yeshaya stark gewählt. Well, I really enjoyed this meeting between my grandfather and Rabbi Yeshaya. Das zweite Begegnisch, was hat gelost auf mir tiefen Räuschen. Habe ich beigewohnt zwischen mein Seiden und einem guten Jeden. Now another meeting, which left a deep impression on me. I was present at a meeting between my grandfather and one of the wonder-working Jews. Ken Bilgerei is herabgekommen sammeln Geld bei seiner Chassidim, der Tzaddik, Reb Motele Kazimierer. To Bilgerei, there arrived to collect money from his followers, the righteous, or the tzaddik, the Reb Motele from Kazimirsh. I actually had relatives who were from there. An Enekel from der Chernobyler Dynastie. He was a grandson of the dynasty of Chernobyl. Und wie es wird sich, and as it happens, hat der Rebbe abgestattet a visit beim Rav von Stadt. So this Rebbe, he came to visit also by the rabbi of the city. Chotch der Zayde is given a misnagid, even though Zayde was a misnagid, hat dem gut jüdischen Gast aufgenommen mit Kreuz Kavod. He greeted this good Yidden, this Hasidic guest with great honor. Und ihm abgetrotten sein Futterstall, and he moved. How am I going to
Gave up?
He gave up. Yeah, he gave up his easy chair so that the guest could sit in it. Der Rebbe hat sich weggesetzt neben Seiden, and so the Hasidic Rebbe sat down near Seide. Tisch haben sich gestupt die Hasidim und Mekorvim. And around the table, there was a crowd of the Hasidim and how are you going to say Mekorvim? Those who were coming close.
Look, friends or
Okay, so it's not
Yeah.
relatives, but friends most likely. Yes,
Mm.
friends.
Yeah.
Supporters. I think supporters. Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Die Baba hat da reingetragen Kibbutz, so Grandma brought in a snack: apple, Baren and Fleimen, apples, pears, plums. Der Seide, wie sein Steger es gewesen, hat gleich genommen reden Leumdes mit dem Gast. So grandfather, following his own custom, he immediately began to speak about Leumdes, learned things, discussing Talmud sort of things. Torah, yeah. Talking Torah with
Yeah.
his guest. Aber der gute Yid hat nicht gehabt, kein Cheshek zu reden Leumdes. But this guter Yid had no interest in speaking Torah. In was is upon him nicht gewesen kein größer Barrier, in which he apparently wasn't any greatly skilled. Und hat besser genommen unter Singen, machen Havayis und praven gut jiddische Stück. He rather wanted to hum to sing something, to make gestures, and to do the shtick of the Gute Yidden. Anstatt reden Leumdes hat gar angesagt a Welt mit Gematries. So instead of to discuss Talmud, he spoke a world of Gematrias, a Teure, was besteht in ausgefinden die Zollen von Oisius und Psukim. This is a learning which consists of discovering the numerical values of letters in psukim, in sentences from the Torah. Der Seide meiner hat nicht gehabt kein groß Cheshek zu dem mean Torah. Now, grandfather didn't have much patience with this sort of Torah. Dem Rebens Gabbai hat gleich sich genommen zu Masse Maten. So the Gabbai, the rabbis, the Rebbe's Gabbai, who is this? Is it the Gabbai of the guest?
Mm.
Yeah, most likely.
Yeah.
Immediately began to take himself to Masa Ubatan, back and forth of merchandising, usually.
No, bargaining.
Bargaining, okay, bargaining.
It's bargaining.
About what? We'll see.
Well, it says in the next sentence.
Okay, we'll see. Wie nur der Rebbe hat versucht a Fleim, as soon as the guest, the Rebbe, tasted a plum, hat der Gabe genommen Mischeren mit dem Tzadik's Shirayim. Oh, I see. The Gabbai, the assistant, began to sell off the remnants of the Tzadik's food. If the Tzadik has had a taste of this, then the leftover is something you can sell off to the Hasidim. Ein kerbel kesef tahar farafloim. It'll cost you 1 ruble of silver, pure silver, to have a plum. Hat ausgerufen mit der Nigim. Wie beim Verkäufen Elias, as they do when they sell off the readings of the Torah. I've actually heard this done once. I was in the Moscow synagogue, and the melody is like this: Ein kerbel kesef tahar farafloim. Ein kerbel mit der halben, 1.5. 2 kerbelech. He's auctioning it off. Hasidim haben übergestiegen, einer dem anderen in Preis. So the Hasidim were jumping one over the other in the price. They were raising it. Bald seien sich euch angelaufen Weiber mit Kinder und gebeten beim Rebben, soll sie benchen. And immediately, or soon came up women and children, and they begged the Hasidic Rebbe to bless them. Der Rebbe hat gebencht, aber der Gabe hat geheißen Batzollen für jede rabbinische Brache. In Verreis. The Rebbe blessed them, but the Gabba required them to pay for each blessing in advance. Ehe der Rebbe hat verlost dem Sedensstub, hat der Gabbe seiner verkauft das Untervierrechts. Before the Rebbe actually left grandfather's house, his Gabbe had already sold off the Untervierrechts. What's that?
This
Untervierrechts.
this matter, this
activity.
Perhaps an Untervierer is a groomsman or a slanderer, but I'm not quite sure what that is there. I'll just finish the paragraph then.
sounds like this management thing.
Okay. Der Kasimirer hat gehunken auf der Fuß und man hat ihm der Reber untergeführt. Oh, that's what it is. This explains it. Because the rabbi from Casimir, he was lame on one foot, and that's why they had to help carry him. And so what he was selling off is the right to assist the rabbi in walking. Die Schrier zu führen dem Rebben hat gekostet Geld. This honor of helping the rabbi travel, that cost money. Good, uncle.
Okay. Wenn der Rebbe mit die Chassidim seinen Arois, hat der Seide abgewischt dem Tisch mit der Keschene Patschela, wie wollt gewollt abreiben von ihm jeden Seicher von der geschäftlicher Rabbistwe, und hat kein Wort nicht ausgerät zum Teil mit seinem Todrus, dem Lamden und Mishnaged, was hat geschmeichelt über dem, was hat gesehen und gehört. So when the Rebbe, together with his Hasidim, left, the Zayda wiped the table with his pocket handkerchief, as if he wanted to wipe away any memory of this commercial rabbinic Hasidic rabbinic stuff that had been going on. And he didn't say a word to his student, Todros, who was a well-educated young man and a Mishnagid, who smiled over what he had seen and what he had heard. Men lernen nicht ledig gehen. Let's carry on learning and not waste time. Hat befeuillen und genommen lernen schier mit dem Bocher, von welchen hat stark gehalten. So he said, let's carry on learning and not waste time. He ordered and began to study very seriously with this young man who
Shir is a shir is like a study session.
Okay, I understood it shir as being in a great quantity. It can also have that meaning.
Yeah, but I think
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Okay,
What-
so to study a lesson with this young man who he was very fond of. Sof Zummer,
I have a question about this abbreviation, ne. What is that an abbreviation for?
yeah, I couldn't find that. I couldn't work it out. Me is men, I think. It's abbreviation of men. But the ne, I couldn't.
Right.
From
Yeah,
the from
I
the
don't.
context, from the context is let's carry on learning.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Sof Zummer in Onheib Chodesh Elul hat meine Mutter genommen die Schwester und mich und sich zurückgekehrt daheim kein Lenchen. So at the end of the summer, at the beginning of the month of Elul, my mother took me and my sister and we went back home to Lenchen. I think that's probably a good place to stop because it's the sort of end of a concept.
Okay.